Hello and welcome to Grand Designs Live from Home. Thank you all for joining us. I think we're going to have a great session today. It's all about extensions this week, which is fantastic. So thank you very much for joining us. So this is our 5th week actually. So we've been doing this for 5 weeks now, and it's been great. We've had lots of really interesting discussions, and we've had people listening actually from all over the world. So do give us a shout and let us know where you are listening from, because it's really interesting for us to see exactly how far the Grand Design reach is. So I hope you're all safe and well. So I'm just trying to actually, I'll forget that. So what we're talking about today is extensions. Now, over the years, I've been involved in lots and lots of extensions, and they're really interesting actually, because they're a really good way for us to add value to our homes. They're great investment, get a great return actually. But also, more importantly, I think, what they do is they allow us to add space and functionality to our homes and make our homes better suited to the lives that we are leading, which is, I think, is fantastic. But there is a slight issue with building projects. There are risks. We've all heard the stories, of course, of projects that go either over budget or go over time, or do both of those things, and also projects where at the end it's not quite what the client wanted. And interestingly, when I first started working at Grand Designs Live, one of the first talks I used to always do was about delivering the perfect project. So this is quite interesting for me actually, this issue that you might have with projects. And I'll sum it up very quickly for you, but in my view, there's 3 things that you need to do in order to deliver a good extension, or any project actually. First is design. It needs to be designed properly. You need to design really, really well. The second is you need to surround yourself with the right people, build the right team, what we call procurement in the industry. Now, it's really important that you get obviously the right builder. That's really, really important, but also the right consultants, the right surveyors, the right people to do your heating installation, your electrical installation. That's a really important part of the job, and a really difficult thing to do, I think, sometimes when you're looking to build your own extension. And the final thing is you need to deliver it, and that's really, really difficult, because you need to make sure you project manage it. You need to make sure you keep to the budget. You need to make sure that you are on quality, that things are done right. And that's not just the finish. You need to make sure all the things under the ground are done properly as well. And if you can do all of that, then you can deliver a perfect extension. But of course, we know that for many, that isn't the case. That is, unless of course, you were able to go to just one company that did all of that for you. Now imagine that. And not only were they able to do that, they would design it for you. They would handle the entire procure chain. So you're just dealing with one person from start to finish. And they were able to give you a fixed budget, a fixed sum. So that means that actually the price won't increase on you. So you're secure. But imagine as well that they were able to deliver that to you in just 1 month. Now, take an example of an extension that might take 6 months, for example. Imagine that extension could be delivered in 1 month, and that would be great, wouldn't it? And so that's what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about 1 month extensions. And there are companies around who utilize what we call modern methods of construction, modular construction, and they're able to do that. But what I'm really interested in is talking to companies and people who are actually allowing the benefits of that kind of construction to filter down to the everyday builder, to the everyday person who's doing an extension. And that's what we're talking to today. And my first guest is a gentleman called James Walsh, who is the founder and an architect of the firm called Studio Agno. And they have actually been one of the companies that have, I'm just having a few technical issues there. That's my extension. They're one of the founders of the company called InFrame, which is a company that is offering these extensions. So thank you all. Great to see all your wonderful comments. So I'm just going to try and add, I can't, I'm having a few technical problems here. So let me just see if I can do it this way. Okay, So, for some reason, I'm not able to add anybody. Let's have a look. Let's go live with James. There you are working. I'll turn it around again, shall I? So you can see me. Right. So our first guest is James Waltz from Studio Anya, who should be up any minute. James, how are you?
Good now, sir. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. How are you doing over this, this time? Quite strange, isn't it, for everyone?
Yeah, it's a different way of working.
Yeah. So James, I've been telling everyone about your company, Studio Anya. Do you want to give us a bit of an introduction to you and your firm?
Yeah, we're designers who specialize in modern methods of construction. So we use prefabricated and system designs in buildings. So
Yep.
in hotels,
Yep.
studios, large commercial projects.
Yeah. In fact, you did the Citizen M Hotel on Tower Bridge, didn't you?
Yeah, that was built using volumetric construction in a factory and delivered to site.
Yeah. And I've seen a video of that, and it's extraordinary, isn't it? Just remind me, how many rooms? How many rooms were you able to build in the short space of time?
We had 370 rooms go up in 17 weeks.
Wow!
Tower of London. So we had to ask the Queen if it was all right to pull them in, and yeah, 70
So
weeks.
you had to ask the Queen if she would let you put them in.
Yeah, she's a consultee in the Tower of London, so we had to ask her.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm glad that she agreed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, just a bit of housekeeping. Lots of great comments coming through, so thank you very much for that. James, somebody is commenting on your lovely pendant behind you.
Oh, yeah.
This is fantastic. If you have any questions, we're going to talk to James now about extensions and design and the things that he's up to for about 10 minutes. And then after that, we're going to have a quick 10-minute Q&A. If you have any questions, please use not the comment box, but the box next to that with a little question mark in it. Because if you've got a question in there, then I will be able to, I won't forget them because they go past very quickly, actually, if you just put them in the comment section. So that's fantastic. Anyway, James, so yes, you guys specialize in volumetric or modular building. In terms of the benefits of that, I mean, how have you seen up until now the benefits of, well, in fact, actually, what are some of the benefits of actually using a modular form of construction?
Well, it's simply taking the traditional construction into a factory, so you get all the benefits of manufacturing processes, quality terms, speed
Yeah.
terms. It's more precise, so you're engineering it. So it's more of a manufactured process rather than a traditional process on site. So all the benefits of building in a factory.
Yeah. So in effect, you're taking what is the normal construction process, be that bricklaying, painting, plastering, fitting wires for electric, and you're doing that all in a factory setting.
Yeah, that's the principal difference.
Yeah. And up until now, has it been something that people could use if they were just building a 30 square meter extension, as a standard rear extension on a terraced house or something?
No, currently it's come from the commercial sector, so it's used in large-scale buildings and large-scale processes. And there's been a lot of adoption in the UK in the last maybe 5 years and larger scale projects, but hasn't really been taken on board in the residential sector yet.
Right. Okay. And but that's one of the things that we're talking about now, isn't it? I mean, as an architect, extensions, they're important, aren't they? They're a great way of adding, as I said earlier, adding functionality, space, and value to your home.
Yeah, I mean, the hassle of moving a house and constantly changing where you live, it's much better to adapt what you currently live to your requirements rather than moving and changing. Yeah, so it's a much better way to live is to design how you want it where you live now.
Yeah. And I suspect you have also heard of some of the horror stories that people have when they are actually, trying to build an extension, things that go on. I mean, a friend of mine asked me to look at a job that had gone on for, almost a year, and it was probably 12 weeks worth of work. And that's a shame, isn't it, actually?
Yeah, it puts people off tackling the process, which should be a straightforward, simple build process. And because of the just the approach and the people who are dealing with it today, we haven't had a smooth delivery of extensions, which should be a relatively simple building type.
Because it always, makes my heart sink a little when I hear people, I go to my friends' houses or other people's houses, and you sit in these extensions, and obviously, at the end of the dinner party, they're just telling you this, horrible story, and you're just looking around and thinking, it should not. Why?
Everyone has a horror story of their extension,
Yeah, and that's sad actually that's like that, because it shouldn't be. It should be very straightforward.
It's a very simple building type, and it's there's nothing complicated in undertaking the process. So if it was done in a more rigorous, disciplined fashion, it should be a relatively simple build.
Yeah. And also, I mean, this is probably a loaded question for you, as you are an architect, but how important, is it to use an architect and have a really well designed extension?
Well, that's the thing we're looking to change. Is currently there's very little design going into extensions, and there's very little thoughts going in before the builder arrives. And you see a lot of the process happening ad hoc and as the builder is there. So designing it beforehand and making all the decisions before you start is a key aspect of a successful project. You have decided and then you build. So it's a different process.
I mean, look, changing stuff as you go along, ad hoc as it were, on the fly, is never a great way to secure delivering any type of project well, and especially an extension. So I'm guessing from your perspective, obviously get it designed well, but then the other process, choosing the procurement side. I mean, that's quite difficult, isn't it? Actually, sometimes
very difficult in the residential markets. It's very fragmented. It tends to be single builders. There doesn't seem to be any overarching design process there for getting your builder. And you see there is people online, there's a couple of websites responding, but not really an overarching approach or kind of professionalism at that level of
So basically what you are doing now is you've been taking your expertise from building these huge hotels around the world. Actually, you're involved in projects not just in the UK, and working out how you can kind of distill that and allow everyday kind of builders or renovators to take benefit of that.
Yeah, we're bringing a system-built approach to residential markets, so we can take away a lot of the issues that you currently deal with day to day and create a structure under which people can design and build with. That's simple. Can be scaled.
We're getting some great questions through. There's some great questions from Studio Cuthbert. If you can just, I've just seen them and they were really good, and now they've gone off my screen. So if you could just put them in the little, use that, guys at Studio Cuthbert, if you could just use that little box with the question mark in it, put your questions in there, and then I won't forget them, and I can ask James those at the end, because they were really, really good questions. So I mean, so your idea is that you would take the benefits of using modular technology, modular building processes, and allow everybody to benefit from that. I mean, so where did you start?
Well, we started looking at the systems that needed to be designed and developed to create a product that can be customized for the extension market. So we looked at like-gauge steel systems and system designs and how they could be applied to the smaller scale residential market.
Yeah. And we're going to have a look at a property that a project that we've done, but this is not done in a modular way. But the reason we're looking at this is because this is effectively, we're looking at this almost like a case study, aren't we? And we're looking at I mean, this is a lovely extension that your company was responsible for in I think that's in Fulham somewhere. Was that right?
Yeah.
Right. So something like that is prime for a kind of modular or a panelized solution. Do you want to actually just talk through the different types of solution that you could employ to build something like that?
Yeah, so I mean, this is constructed traditionally in 4 to 6 months. and it's built traditionally with all the headaches of building. We can either build this using a solution where it comes as a flat pack walked through the building,
Yeah.
or we could produce it as a fully complete box over the building and drop it in place. So we can use two types of technology to deliver it at much quicker pace and higher levels of quality.
So that, and it is, by the way, it's beautifully designed. I mean, it's absolutely stunning. So that extension that we're looking at, what you're saying is there's two ways that that could be delivered. One is effectively as a completed box, which is, I guess, craned over the house or around the back or something into position and fixed to the building, or a panelized solution, which effectively means that that building is just split into panels, roughly the size of a piece of plasterboard, that kind of size, are they, or bigger?
For your door, basically. We've used the size of a door, so two carrying it in through your front door.
Yeah. So that extension will be split into panels, and then you could just carry that through the front door, bring it out the back, and then and fit it. Yeah. That's excellent. I mean, it's absolutely excellent. And what do you think? I mean, this took, how long did you say this one took?
It took 6 months with the rear extension all in.
Right. Okay. And we think you could probably do this in about a month using your panelized solution.
Yeah, it can be done in a month.
That is fantastic. Now, exactly, someone's just said, wow, no crane needed. Indeed, and that's the beauty of a panelized solution. I mean, look, some people might be thinking, okay, so that's great, it's much quicker, it seems much less risky, but they might think that maybe they have to compromise on design. Is that the case?
No, it's a system design. So if you like, the chassis of the car is designed and it's the same. So just set dimensions and structure.
Yeah.
The car itself can be designed and customized however you like. So
yeah,
we're bringing, with this system-based design, it allows us more freedom to design because we have a set of criteria and then we can focus on the bits we're interested in designing.
Yeah. So it's still possible to get an exquisitely designed extension which is bespoke, so that when it comes to specing the interior, the kitchen, the tiles, the paint, it's no different to the traditional way. Is that right?
Exactly. So all the bits that are important, the look and feel, the kitchen appliances, these aren't part of a system-based design, so you don't need to choose them or be restricted by them. It's the carcass that's the system, and the interior can be designed to your how you want it designed.
Yeah, and as an architect, I mean, using this kind of system and advising your clients to use this kind of system, what does that mean to you in terms of the way that you design, or the actual, in fact, the process for a client, which can be quite stressful, as we talked about earlier?
Yeah, so the key thing that we're bringing is to bring design to the front. So with this system design, we're getting all the design done up front. So the process is agreed, you know what you get, there's visualizations done. So
yeah,
the whole process is complete and the client is happy before we start building. So it's a different process, it's a more complete process, a bit more rigorous, and the client understands what he's getting before he gets it. So it's easier for us because we are communicating earlier in the process and fixing the design.
Yeah. So, effectively all of the design work, and it kind of has to be because this is going to be built effectively in a factory somewhere else. There is no opportunity for you to say, oh, actually, can you move that wall back, or which you shouldn't do anyway, because that's really expensive and actually causes a lot of problems. So you do all of the design work up front. And that means that you can guarantee that the client gets exactly what they want, doesn't it?
That's it, yeah. So by completing the design before you begin, which sounds simple.
Yeah.
Design it before you build it sounds something everybody should do, but it never happens. So we complete the design and then we start to build.
Yeah.
So the client is fully engaged with the design, signed it off, and then we construct it.
Yeah. And we've got a question here. I'll ask this one now, actually, because it's quite a key one. In terms of the budget, the costs, people are asking me now, is it more expensive than a traditional build?
No, all the components are still the same. So you have all the same components, the kitchen design, everything is the same, the roof's the same. The only difference, we're doing it in a factory, so the process is different, but the costs are the same.
Yeah, yeah. there's a question here from someone who's saying, so once designed, no adjustments can be made after. Yes, you are right. And
Exactly.
Look, that is the way it should be. If you're going to deliver a project on time and on budget, then you shouldn't be changing things as you go along. Changes will cost you time, cost you money. Every single change. And I think that sometimes is quite a difficult thing to get across to clients. And when they, and particularly because the normal extension process might be quite fragmented, because you deal with the architect, and then sometimes people, might not use the architect's, past design because they want to try and save money. They go to the builder, and he might have a different agenda, let's say, and want to do things in his own way. So what can happen is you go on this journey, and at the end of it, it's not quite what you wanted.
Yeah, so we're putting more into the communication with clients. We're using some tech to help visualize the spaces before we complete the design process. So we're trying to use more 3D visualization and better communication with clients from day one, so they know they're designing, and hopefully they will fix that design. And then we create a fixed point, and then we build it. So it is a different process.
Yeah. Sorry, James, we're getting some really amazing questions coming through, and I'm just going to have to ask them, actually, because I know that you should be up picking them in the question box, but they're really great. One of the questions that someone was just asking was about, can they get a traditional red brick finish?
Yes, yeah. So there's two ways of doing that. We like modern construction methods on the boxes. So there can be brick slips, which are lightweight construction, which are a modern version. But because of the way we build, the box goes in straight away, and the box is watertight. So we can put on a traditional brick skin at the same time as a traditional boat. It's just a different sequence. So we're doing it earlier in the process. But it can be brick, can be a brick facade.
Yeah, but I think the wider answer to that question is you can have whatever you want, really.
Yeah, no problem. And it doesn't affect. The box goes in first, and then we put the cladding on. So
the cladding, the facade can be rendered, can be bricks, brick slips, tiled, a living wall. I mean, literally whatever they want. Yeah,
it just clips onto the system, so it can be any finish, whatever you need.
There's another question, which is I'm going to ask because that's a really interesting question. Are there any insurance or mortgage issues with a prefab construction method?
Historically, there probably was, but now it's a very recognized process. So the steel frame panel system is well recognized in the insurance market, in the housing market. And there's a large portfolio now using this technology. Some of the new houses you buy these days are using these technologies.
Yeah. And in some sense, it is actually a much safer way to build, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's a known technology. It's done in the factory, and the QA is much, much higher. So it's better build for the same cost.
Yeah, I've got a question here, and it's how sustainable are your designs?
It's pretty good. In terms of the key part of a carbon cycle is being able to recycle buildings. So a lot of buildings are knocked down, and from the end of life, the recyclability is a real problem with modern buildings. So our system can be bolted. It's also super insulated, so it's higher insulation than what normally you would do in an extension. So we're wrapping it more in insulation to get a better footprint. So lots of ways it's better. It's more airtight as well, so it's better in that sense as well. Lots of benefits of technology.
And on that note, here is a question, a quite technical question, asking about the typical U values of the walls.
I'll have to pass that one over to Stuart. He's
okay. We'll get back. We'll get back to that one. But it's suffice to say that the insulate, because it's been built in a panelized way, and because we're using modular technology, it is much easier to build this in a. It's much easier for us to make sure that the building is much better insulated than it would normally be. In terms of, there's another question actually from Studio Schubert, sorry. How much money can be saved building modular extensions? Well, in some cases they can be cheaper actually to build in a modular way. It can be more cost, I guess, in the terms that it is. The real benefits is the fact that it is actually much quicker. You get a guaranteed finish, and also you've got a guaranteed timeline. So you know when you're going to finish, you know what it's going to cost you, and you know what it's going to look like. Welcome back, James.
Hi, sorry about that.
That's okay. I've just been speaking for you. I hope that's okay.
Oh,
I was just explaining that, is modular extensions, can you save money? And I was just saying, well, look, they can be more cost effective sometimes, but actually the real benefits are in the fact that you're guaranteed, the finish is guaranteed, the timeline's guaranteed, and the amount of money you're going to pay is guaranteed. And those are the real benefits. Would you agree?
It's a better value product, so you're getting better quality for your money. So it's manufactured in a factory, the electrics are put in much better, the plumbing's in much better, and the acoustics are much better for the same cost point. So it's a better value product and it's the same cost.
Yeah. A contentious question here. Do you think this volumetric construction will negatively impact the employment of people in construction?
No, it's the same amount of people building it in a factory as on the site. They actually prefer working in factories.
Yeah.
It's a very cold winter to be laying concrete over the winter.
Yeah, I think that's the point.
Working in the factories.
These this form of construction isn't more about taking jobs from people. Jobs may change, and they may change, particularly location. So, but you still need electricians. You still need plumbers. You still need, James, can you hear me? Oh, I think you may have gone. You still need plumbers. You still need electricians. You still need all of the skills that you would need in a traditional build. The only difference is that these properties are built, in a different way, in a different place. So it moves to the factory. So that's one of the interesting questions about that. So let me just have a look for another question here. And this is quite interesting, actually. How much time can you save building a modular extension? Well, much quicker to build in this way. One of the things you can do is, obviously, when you're building in this way, it means that you can, as I said, you can build much quicker, up to, I think, probably 75% quicker. So in essence, in an extension that would take 6 months, building in this way, you could do it in 6 weeks, which is a big saving. But there are other benefits as well of using modular technology. There are probably there's 80% less waste. So that's offcuts of materials, when you're digging the foundations, all of these things that you normally have to do that are wasted on site. Now, anybody who's done a job, will know how much stuff is wasted, because they'll remember how much they probably had to pay for skips throughout the whole project. So that's what's happening, and that's what it is one of the benefits. Also, there's about 75% less people on the site, so that's a good an interesting saving as well. And for bigger sites, there's about 60% less deliveries on site. So what that kind of means is that if you build in a modular way, especially your extension, it's a much less impactful process for you, for your family, and for your neighbours. And also, obviously, don't forget that it's done in much less time. So rather than taking 6 weeks to do a project, or 6 months, sorry, it's actually you can do it in a much less time than that, which is fantastic. James, we seem to have lost you, but thank you very much for joining us. We've had some really great questions, so thank you, everybody. I am now going to move on to the next stage of this. So we've talked about the design, we've talked about the benefits of building in a modular way. And just so you remember, what we're talking about today is we're talking about 1 month extensions. Now, that's using modern methods of construction, modular construction, to build extensions in a fraction of the time, in just 1 month, which is incredibly quick. And we can guarantee, they can be guaranteed, you can guarantee the time scale, the quality, and the budget. Some of the things that you can't guarantee, that makes it very difficult. So I'm just going to invite along Stuart, who is the other member of the company that does this, InFrame, and see if he can answer some of the questions as well. Now, again, we seem to be laden with technical issues at the moment. So let me just hold this and see if I can get Stuart in on the conversation. Stuart, if you're there, if you can just request to come live again. I don't know what is going on with my phone. But let's have a look at some of the other questions that we've got, actually. We've got people in Colombia, which is fantastic. And yes, as someone has pointed out as well, that, of course, time is way more valuable. So actually getting something done much quicker has a huge value. So, you've got to think about, sometimes when you're doing a build, maybe you're not living at home, maybe you're living at relatives or friends, or maybe you're renting somewhere. So just, you've got to remember that means that, of course, you've got a much quicker build. So I'm just trying to get this working, which I can't seem to do right now, but we'll do it very quickly. Again, that's this is quite funny at the moment, actually. So look, what I'm going to do is I will just show you a few more pictures of this case study that they've been working on. And basically, this was a job in Fulham that the guys at Studio Anio and Sign Developments did through their new company. And we're using this as a case study because this took 6 months. And what they're actually saying is that right now they could do that for I guess, in about a month, which is, I think, fantastic, which is a really interesting way. So let me just go to a few more questions and see if we've got any more answers. Here we go. It's an interesting question here. Tips for beginners building your own house that already own the land. So they already own the land. So, I mean, look, one of the tips, the most important things when you're building your own home or, an extension, is to make sure that you follow the process. You talk to the right people, surround yourself by the right skills in terms of people. Now, one of those things, make sure you get the right architect, make sure you get, if you're doing planning, make sure you get, if you're doing planning, make sure you get a planning consultant, make sure you take the right advice, and all of those things. If you do all of those things, then you're going to make it much easier for yourself in terms of being able to complete the project. So I am still having a few problems getting, let me see if this works. Yeah, I'm having a few, oh, here we go live InFrame. I'm very sorry about that. That has worked. So Stuart should be joining us very, very shortly. And so one of the great things about obviously using this, Stuart, I'm sorry about that. How are you?
Hi, Kunle. Yeah, very well, thank you. And you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. How have you been? You been good?
Yeah, very well, very well.
Okay, so because I can't seem to work my phone, we are short of time, so we're going to have to go straight through it. So do you want to just quickly introduce yourself to everybody while I call up some of the pictures here?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having us on, Kunle. I'm Stuart of InFrame. We deliver, as you've been hearing, bespoke extensions and garden rooms. And yeah, we're really passionate about bringing the advances in technology from the public and new build sector into the domestic market.
And Stuart, we've had lots and lots of questions already. And this is a really interesting topic. I think people are really interested in this the ability or being able to make use of technology so that they can build their extensions for a guaranteed price, for guaranteed time, and for guaranteed quality. But I'm going to put you to the test because I've looked at this. I've looked at the project. Now I know you've done a little case study which I've got here on the projects above, and I just want to go through it stage by stage, just to talk, so the clients can understand, so that people can understand actually how you actually achieve what you achieve. Now, this section. Okay, let's start. Let's imagine that I was going to have a race with you. Let's have a race. Okay.
Okay.
So you're going to build this extension, which is this is a kind of destructed version of the picture that I've already shown you. So that is this. What we're going to show you is a destructed version of this picture, and we're going to illustrate how this can be built in a modular way. So, okay, we both go to site day one. I'm doing the house next door to this one. You're doing this one. Yeah. We go to site. We've got to demo first, haven't we? We've got to, you know, make good. So
Site clear, yeah.
that is the same for everybody, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that's the same process, yeah.
So at the moment, we're neck and neck. This next stage is really interesting for me because effectively this is, in a traditional build, this is the foundation, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So in a traditional build, there would be, we'd have cleared the site and done the prelims, and then we'll be preparing the ground for the foundations.
Okay, yeah. So whilst I'm next door, digging trenches, measuring them out, get them in, you are putting in 6 screw piles. Is that right? Is that what I'm looking at here?
Yeah, that's right. So we're using the quite innovative alloy screw piles. So they're put into the ground with a pneumatic tool,
Yeah.
and they're tested right away. So within minutes of those screw piles going in, they go 4 meters down normally. They're tested, so they're load tested right away.
Okay.
And so we can get 6 in quite comfortably in a day, generally 9 in a day.
Right. So you're telling me that you could do that in one day?
Yeah, that's right, Kunle. Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. So effectively, you'll have done all of the groundworks on the extension in a day.
Yeah, in terms of that part of the process, yeah, that's taken us a day. We can generally, depending on the size of the extension or garden room, we can start, you know, constructing around as well. We can maybe start doing our wall panels around in situ if we need to.
Yeah. So if I was building that house in a traditional way, I probably have at least had to have dug, I would say, 3 trenches, at least 2 trenches. Yeah. Poured the foundations, got them all signed off. That would probably take me the best part of 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah, that's probably fair, Kunle. Yeah, about 3 weeks for that, I'd say. And that's all being well. If you get some wet weather delays there, yeah, that's where you could lose a bit more time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So that's fair enough, because that's one of the issues with traditional build, is that if everything went well, this would take me probably 3 weeks. If I hit some bad weather, wrong time of year, if it goes below, I think 2 degrees, they don't let you pour concrete. So, you know, there's all of these things that can happen. So you've done that in a day. At my very best, I do that in 3 weeks. So that's pretty amazing. So that, I mean, people are now beginning to understand how you can take a 6-month build and turn it into a month. This next stage, talk us through this, Stuart.
Yeah, so I mean, once we've got our foundations in, our screw piles, we can't quite sit on there. The ring beam goes in, and then our floor cassettes sit on, and we're ready to construct our envelope. Yeah,
and you know, I'm assuming this is another very short space of time in terms of doing this bit we're looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. So as part of the screw pile foundations, we'll put the ring beam in at that point. So the floor cassettes will sit on, you know, really quickly. Yeah.
So we're still like a day, maybe day and a half, 2 days. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're probably into day 2 now. I'd say.
Yeah, I'm still digging my first trench. So yeah, okay. And hoping that I'm going to be able to catch up with you, but I don't think I will. Now we've got some of the actual superstructure in, haven't we?
Yeah. Yeah. So again, we're bringing our wall panels through. We're bringing our wall panels through, constructing those. It's a very straightforward click and design. They're precision engineered panels, so very straightforward click, connect, locked together, all torqued up to factory settings. Everything's checked pre-factory. Excellent quality gate. Obviously in the factory, it's been precision manufactured. Everything is really well checked. So when it comes to site, we can go up really quickly.
Right. So these are all panels. This is what James was talking about earlier, because a lot of people, they you know, when you think of modular construction, they may think of a huge, you know, box being lifted over. That isn't always possible for lots of different reasons, but this is a very good alternative, isn't it?
it's a good alternative that we've been working on, and we felt that. So, you know, craning in a box is one way of doing it, and that can work. But we find that this maybe gives us more flexibility, especially where there's access issues in, you know,
Yeah.
tight areas. So this opens up the market, and hopefully we can bring this product through to more people using this method.
Yeah. So those panels.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the mechanical and electrical, the M&E, or you know, the plumbing and the wires for the electricals. Are they already installed in these panels, or
They are, yeah. So that's done in the factory, Kunle. So the steel panels are erected in the factory, engineered in the factory, and then we have a team there, and we're fitting in our M&E. So our first fix is all done, and it's quite. And again, we're looking at what's happening, what we've done in the new build sector, and bringing that through to the domestic market using modular wiring looms, click and connect, but it's all commercial grade connection, so much better quality. We're using you know, excellent supply and top of the range materials here. So we fit all that in the factory, and the first fix is already in when the panels arrive.
You know, people who've done renovation projects and built extension or houses, they will be aware of first fix and second fix, mechanical and electrical, you know, people running wires all around the house and pipe work. But this all happens in a factory, you're saying, in this case?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, every panel will have a drawing, and the first fix M&E will go in, the electrical and the plumbing will go in according to that drawing, exactly the same every time.
Every time. And when the panels come together, I'm assuming that there's some sort of system which just connects them together, effectively creating the either the ring for the electrics or the kind of network for the plumbing. Is that right? Is that how it works?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a robust connection detail for the plumbing and the electrics. Again, it's all commercial grade quality supply in our materials that we're using.
Fantastic. Now you've got some glazing in.
Yep, so we're starting to get weather tight.
You're starting to get weather. Interesting. I mean, that's one of the big challenges when you build. Now, obviously, for the purposes of that illustration, there's no roof on there, but by now that would be weather tight. Is that right? Before you put the kitchen in?
Yeah, obviously we've taken it off for the illustration, but yeah, we'll get all of our glazing in.
Yeah.
Obviously we've got our roof on. This particular extension's got a nice big skylight on the top there to let all the light through. So yeah, all of that happens. All in situ, really. Yeah. So I think we're probably go on, Kunle, sorry.
I was just going to say, because I'm just conscious that, you know, in our little fictitious competition, I'm still digging holes. I'm still trying to dig my foundations now. I mean, how quickly from the day that you start this job are you watertight?
So we're looking to be watertight within a week.
1 week.
1 week, yeah, yeah. So we'll be 1 week. So once the foundations are in, then it's 1 week, yeah.
Okay, let me get this right. So our two jobs, right? It's a week, so I've probably dug all my trenches now, waiting for building control to come out to tell me that they're deep enough so I can put the concrete pour. But you've done your foundation work, you've done the groundworks, you've done the superstructure, and you're now watertight.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think this is the part of the process where we really accelerate, because the foundations with the screw piles are tested there and then well within any building regs that we'd require, and all of the building inspectors accept that method, and then the walling system and the cassettes are all in. We're weather tight very quickly. We get our glazing in very quickly, and then it allows us a lot more time to concentrate on the finishing. So once our structure is up and our cassettes are in, our wall cassettes, our roofing cassettes are in, we can start finishing the exterior. But of course, it's not critical to the program. We're also working on the interior as well at the same time. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, that's really interesting. So am I right in saying that this picture that this illustration that I've now got up, that you are at this stage in just over a week?
Yes,
without
that's right,
internals, without the internals.
Without the internals, yeah. Just over a week here, and then we can start on our exterior finishings, our fascia soffits.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, because, you know, that is one of the big challenges with any construction project, particularly in this country with, we don't have the best weather, do we? I mean, although the weather's been quite nice today, you know, that's fine. I've got a question here, actually. One of the questions I'm going to ask you is, they ask, does building control slow the process down? Because they can take a few days to come and visit. And by that time, you've done quite a bit of work. So, you know, have you ever found that they slow the process down, building control?
No, not at all. They're all today, everyone that we work with is really aware of the system, really aware of especially the screw pulse. It's very well known in the commercial world as well. So no, it's not slowing down. I mean, the loads are tested there and then, and that's sent off. So we can, we're utilising technology really and getting that sent off to building inspectors on the spot really.
Yeah. So I mean, that's incredible. So just over 1 week in, you are now concentrating on internal finishes.
We are, yeah.
And that's one of the really key points, isn't it? Because it gives you time to make sure the finishes are up to that kind of grand design quality. That's what you're offering people, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what we're aspiring to, is that grand design. You know, someone wants just something a little bit different. It's not completely out. It still looks lovely. It's still, in keeping and in context with the street, but it's a little bit different. And the client knows that we've got that time then to really spend and focus on the interior finishing. So again, I guess in a traditional world, sometimes there's delays. It's out of, sometimes out of the builder's hands, but then the interior finishings, they're under a bit of pressure from the client at that point, because maybe there's been some delays going on. Yeah.
And what's quite interesting is, and by the way, I've given up on my competition now, because you've got to this stage, in less than 2 weeks, I'm digging holes. I've shut up sight, and I'm going to wait for you to finish this and then get you to come and do mine for me. Because there is you can't compete with this. And what's quite interesting is, though, we've had lots of questions about things like external finishes. Can I still have a traditional brick finish? Will this, and I guess why people are asking is because, I think maybe the mindset is, this isn't a traditional way of building, so I can't get a traditional look. But that's not the case, is it?
No, absolutely not. So, I mean, a lot of clients look for a traditional finish, so we can render, we can use full London stocks, whatever the client's really looking for. We can also do, have something a little bit more modern, like a zinc clad. Different brick slips, different panel systems, which also look really, really quite good as well.
Yeah, and what's interesting, unlike in a traditional build, you can be working on internal finishes and exterior finishes at the same time. Whereas if I'm doing mine, I would have to wait until the brickwork finished, up to roof plate, then get the roof on, get watertight, then I can go inside. But you can do this at the same time, right?
That's right. Yeah, and I think we provide the client. With a full build program, and it's quite rigid. That is the program, and because we're not subjected to delays that can happen sometimes in traditional methods, we can stick to that quite tight.
Yeah, and this image we're seeing here is the final image, and this is basically a month's worth of work, isn't it? So 1 month, and that's complete. Right. Let me just so for anybody that has just joined us, what we're talking about is using modern methods of construction, modular building or construction methods, in order to deliver architecturally designed extensions in just a month. Now, I'm going to show you. I'm going to go through it very quickly so that people can see the build-up, and this is what we're talking about. So that's a day. That's a day and a bit. We're up to this stage now. We're talking about, we're into the first week. We're up to like about a week and a half now. 2 weeks. Then we're working on the inside and the outside, and there you go. That is done in 1 month, which is pretty incredible. And this is illustration is based on this traditional extension that you've completed, and it was just a kind of a way of being able to use it as a case study. Is that right?
To program it out, yeah, absolutely. And we're not compromising on quality. This is fully design-led, fabric-first approach.
Yeah,
I'm very passionate about delivering high quality to the market as well.
Stuart, I mean, that's
Absolutely.
amazing. We've got a lot of really interesting questions. So let me just go through these again, if I can. No, I can't. So it's either a problem with my phone or, yeah, no, it's definitely a problem with my phone. I'm going to have to go through. Oh, here we go. I've got the questions. Right. We've had this one already. Is building control slowing down the process? No, they do not. Another question here is, Stuart, what would be your preferable roof finish? I'm guessing anything. It's up to the client, right?
It really is, yeah. So we do a full spec out with the client very early on, very early on. So some clients are like a kind of green aspect to their roof finish. A lot of clients is like a traditional roof finish, traditional flat roof finish. So yeah, GRP products. There's no limit there on what products you can use on your roof finish.
Yeah. I've just put a question up, but there's just a few questions just popped up about costings. Now, I mean, costings do vary, and that depends on the internal finishes, but it's roughly either comparable or even sometimes slightly cheaper than traditional building, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be. It can be because we've got quite a time saving as well. But it's certainly comparable. It's certainly comparable.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no issue there.
We've got a question here. Is there evidence now proven that this is happening and working?
Yeah, I mean the evidence is, the technology has really been there. It's a great question. The technology has really been there for some decades, really, and it's been proven to be exceptionally effective in the public sectors. In hospitals and in schools, and really thermally efficient, and really they really have a reduced energy cost to run. So it's really bringing that through over the decades. That's come into the new build residential sector and apartments and now house building. And we're just bringing that really forward into the domestic sector. So yeah, it's been proven over many decades.
Yeah, and I think that's the point, isn't it? And that's the point of what you're doing in your partnership with Studio Agno and James is that this is happening. People just probably don't realise, but they're probably walking. Not at the moment, obviously, because we're all on lockdown, but after, before that and after lockdown's finished, they'll be, especially walking around central London, they'll be walking around buildings that have been built using this kind of technology a lot, won't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the big cities, London, Birmingham, Manchester, the big cities, this technology is everywhere, really. I was on a few sites in Manchester not so long ago, and the big majority were actually built using steel framing or steel frame infill systems. So,
yeah. There's a question here, and it's quite an interesting one, actually. So what are the downsides? Why would somebody not choose this kind of construction over traditional?
I think that in answers, I think maybe people go with what they know a little bit more.
Yeah.
Some people, it just takes a little bit more time to come around to a new way of working. So I think it's just more of a perception, really, Kunle. Like I say, the technology's there, and I think the big house builders are dedicating a much larger percentage of their construction to modern methods.
Yeah.
And we're bringing that through to the domestic market. Other companies, if you like, have bought a modular full boxed version of this where it's craned in. But as we said earlier, we're doing this in high strength steel frame panels, super insulated. And that allows us to bring that through to a much bigger market.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a theory on this, and I think, I was lucky enough to do a session at Grand Designs Live, I think 2 years ago, with Kevin and Peter Huff from Huff House.
Oh, nice.
And obviously in mainland Europe for literally hundreds of years they've been building in this kind of way. And we talked about why aren't people, why is the UK, why have we not kind of adopted it? And I think part of the reason, and we've seen this in some of the questions, people talk about prefabricated. Are there problems with it? And I think it is a kind of something that goes back to a load of those buildings that were built post World War II that probably weren't great, but they needed to be built quite quickly. And that kind of modular prefabricated building methodology received a bad reputation. because of what we're building. And I think we're struggling to get over that sort of perception that somehow, because it's modular, if it's not traditional, it's modular, it is lower in quality, when actually it's quite the opposite now, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, those perceptions sort of grown over, from 50 years ago. You're quite right. In the stock that was delivered quickly at that time, it was certainly, in retrospect, certainly not up to the standards really required. But over 50 years, and certainly the advances in the last couple of decades have been huge, absolutely huge. And now, as I say, the big house builders are adopting these techniques, as you say, in the Nordic countries and Scotland, adopt a large majority of framing techniques just because of the the thermal efficiencies, the low energy and low energy costs of the whole system, really.
Yeah, and I think that as well, what we are changing though, aren't they? There is change coming. There are more. Originally you couldn't get mortgages and stuff on this sort of construction because people couldn't understand it, but now that's all changing, and I think people are understanding as well the environmental impact of traditional builds, sometimes of knocking things down, and then and the waste that comes from a normal building site. There's 80% less waste using this kind of construction method.
Yeah, so we quite, the early vision was to come up with a panel system that has a circular economy, really, and that's why we went with steel, because at the end of life cycle, which is 250 years minimum, that not only can be recycled, it can actually be reused. So it's a full sort of circular lifestyle of steel, really.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Stuart, thank you for joining. I'm going to ask one last question, which is up on the screen now. Builders, labourers are not catching up on the skills needed to implement these new systems.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of skill out there, a huge amount of skill, and that can deliver these systems. Absolutely, I think there's just over time, people have always done things in one way, and so it's just going to take time to change a little bit. Yeah,
it's just we're at that point where all things will change.
Yeah, it's a tipping point. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. That was great. That's fascinating, and I wish I'd met you 10 years ago when it took bloody 6 or 7 months. It'd have been great to have it done in a month, but sadly it wasn't. But thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the end. I've got to end quite quickly actually, because Instagram only lets you broadcast for 1 hour. So. Thank you all for joining us. That was fantastic. Thank you for the questions. They were all fantastic. I hope you learned something. If you've got any questions for either James or for Stuart, please contact them directly. If you can't, then direct message us at Grand Designs and we will pass your questions on to them. So thank you very, very much for joining us. And next week, we are going to be doing The House That Paid for Itself, Part 2. And we're going to be talking about finding land, how you can build these things together with people, with friends. Because one of the ideas of this was that what would happen not only if you built 3 houses, sold 2, and used the money for 1, but what if you built like a kind of mini estate with 5 or 6 of your friends? What would that mean? And what would that mean in terms of cost? So we're going to be looking through that, talking about how you buy land, how you find land, how you appraise sites, how you do that. So we're going to be taking that 1 step further. And all that remains is for me to say thank you all very much for joining us. And very quickly, I think I've got less than a minute, just because I love this graphic that that Stuart sent me. I'm just going to very quickly show you again how quickly they can do their extensions. So here we go. That's your foundations done in a day. That's the floor plate done in a day and a half. Now we're getting into the walls. The walls are up and we're watertight in a week. So we're walking on the inside now, and then within a month, that's what you've got. And absolutely fantastic, I think. And again, that model was based on this real extension that Stuart has done. So we're talking about something that he has really done that we can really do. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much. Tune in next week, same time, same place, hopefully without the technical issues on my phone. But thank you all very much for joining us, and we'll see you all very soon. Thank you.